Hello, everybody. Good evening from Finland, and I guess my guest is here from Switzerland. Or where are you, Astrid?
Yes, I'm in Geneva, Switzerland today.
Yeah, nice to see you. And
Yes, thank you, Mika. Nice to see you.
thank you, thank you. It's winter time still going on, and uh, we are here with the topic about the case Covidpass. And for those who don't know, internationally or in Finland, a short introduction to the case. So in Finland, here at home, I have sued the government, the highest body of government, and Fazer, which is the biggest like a catering chain here in Finland and like an iconic chain. And if you want to check their website, it's fager.com. And the lawsuit is civil action lawsuit. It's filed like 2 years ago, and there was a discrimination that took place 10th of December 2021. I was going to have the breakfast, and I was asked the Covidpass to show that I have got some kind of vaccination of COVID or had COVID before, or a negative PCR test 24-hour, 48-hour prior to that. I had none of those, and I was fully healthy, and I was denied the access. And it sounds very mild, but it happened in many occasions for me, and thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in Finland, and the millions and millions and millions of people around the world. And so now the court case is going on, and Astrid Stuckelberger from Switzerland, I call you Stuckelbergeri.
Yeah, very good.
In Finnish slang. So Astrid is helping me with the court case, and we go now deep dive into the background of Astrid, where she grew up, what she studied, and how she has been in the business and work life relating to health in the past years and decades. And then at the end, we will go more deeply to the court case and PCR test thing. So tell the Finnish audience and international audience a little bit who you are, where you come from, and something else.
Okay, so if my name is Astrid and Stuckelberger, so my origins, my father is Germanic, but from Swiss Germany, and he was from a military and religious background. So I would been educated like in a military school, I would say, very strict. But that's what makes who I am. And my mother, Astrid, Kirsti Hildegun, and is my name, and that's Norwegian, and my mother is Norwegian. So we spoke English at home, first language, then Norwegian, then French, then German, and Norwegian just faded away and came back as we were going to Norway and Sweden. Not Finland, we didn't have family there, but Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. Every 2 summers at least we were up there as children. So that's to say that I grew in an international surrounding very early on. We were born in Geneva. Then my father took a business in the Verbier ski resort, now very famous. All the millionaires want to buy it now. And I'm a ski teacher there because that's the best thing you can do, is to do sports. So I did a lot of sports, and I did ski competition. And then I was teaching skiing to all the English speaking and the Swedish, and even the king was supposed to come, and he was supposed to teach his children. Anyway, and I was doing that while I was studying, because I always like to do many things at the same time, and sports is great. So my father wanted me to study. I wanted to escape, but I did not escape. Thank you today to him. And so I studied at the highest level, and Latin studies, very severe, and then the university, and I chose the University of Geneva because I thought it's international, and I started in biology because I wanted to do anthropology and to understand life. And after 2 years, and today's bachelor, and then I went to to psychology and mental health to have a human side to biology, because it was very dry and I didn't like it except genetics, but it was really the basis when you see today. And then right away I got interested in the UN, so I did a lot of seminars with the UN at the same time as psychology and skiing. But when I then was in WHO for doing my master in mental health, it became serious. I could not ski anymore. So and that's when WHO offered me research on widowhood and the widowhood and how what's the name, grief in elderly people. And then I started really research at the international and at the population level, and that's public health. What people don't know is public health is a science, and it is very important because that's what we're living today. It's the health in the population. So anyway, so to go fast forward, since 28 years old, I was in research, starting with WHO, then the geriatric hospital, then head of the Swiss research program on aging, and then collaborating with WHO, we organized a lot of UN Open Days, International Year of Older Persons in 1999, and that granted me a reward from Secretary General of the UN, Kofi Annan. That was the first part of my career. And in 2000, I got my PhD in epidemiology, public health, and I then taught and did research at the Faculty of Medicine. I was always paid by the Faculty of Medicine anyway, but Geneva University, and I went into being always having a mandate and then training and teaching adults, students, nurses and doctors, and more in the WHO. So they gave me all the work that WHO wanted us to do. So I happened, and that's what's interesting for my case now, and for helping my credential help to have a validation that I can speak about WHO. Many people speak but don't know what they're talking about. But here it was on the International Health Regulation and in the Emergency Department of Alert and Response to manage what is going on, pandemic, epidemic. But we never talked of pandemic really at that time, because to get a pandemic, you have to validate country after country and then declare a pandemic. And there were many experiences where it was not possible. So I know and have been setting up the training for the International Health Regulation with governments, with the Epidemiological Center, focal point for WHO and WHO for 3.5 years. And then I have been teaching it at a summer school I set up at the University of Geneva with the UN, WHO. So that's my life. I have 12 books. I have 200 publications, UN reports. It's there's a lot of variety. But I'm also very specialized in regenerative medicine and anti-aging, because I got a mandate from the Swiss Technological Assessment and the Academy of Science and Education and Innovation. And that got me into transhumanist danger and got me to be on the board and teaching at Vita Foods, being asked by BASF to come as a consultant just to tell them what I know about nutrition, even setting up anti-aging a screening for hospitals and teaching doctors and hospitals in the system. So you see that it's very eclectic, but I see today that nobody's speaking in my branch already in WHO. There's just one UN former ambassador who spoke from Romania. That I think that I'm able to be diplomatic enough to show that what happened has hurt in an unjustified way and totally opposite to the international health regulation, the population. But not only the population, the doctors, the system is totally upside down. So that's,
Wow.
You can see a little bit of my CV on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and as you sent me your CV last year, I had never seen so thick CV, 25 pages, if I remember right. So
yeah.
I was like, wow.
I cut it in two. No, but what was important, there is so many fake CVs. There's so many people who pretend being experts, and they just make parrots. I call them the parrots. they just copy and just mimic what you're saying, which is good, but they don't give credit to all the scientists behind them. But it's so CVs are important. As the more we will go ahead, the more it will be important to show letters of recommendation and proof of who you are if you say you know what you're talking about. And
Yes.
especially court cases, yeah, because they can debunk an expert very easily.
Yes,
So you chose.
it's very easy. It also depends on how smart the judges are and how much they know. But opponents, if they have really skilled people, they can then find any loophole they need to, or if they want to. And you and me, we met last year. I think it was January in Stockholm. There was a big, like a health type conference event, and we happened to be in the same table for the dinner. So there was a free spot on my left, and you were walking around, and I think you came to ask or somebody, okay, come here, and I say, hey, welcome here. I had no idea who you are.
I was actually, it's fun. It's a funny story because you're always with these experts, and I don't always agree with what they say in the microbiology. And I thought, oh, I need a bit of a break, and I said, oh, universe, bring me a nice table where I can have fun and it's good. And your table was the best I could have found. It was,
yeah, we were laughing a lot and having good time and joking and talking about the serious stuff as well, and so on. Hey, a little bit more about the WHO. So you have been hired on a payroll of WHO.
Yes. Well, I've had many mandates as consultant apart from IHR, on ethics, on innovation, on health and all policies in social determinants of health in aging. But this mandate was on the budget of WHO, paid through the University of Geneva with a contract between WHO and the University of Geneva, where I was employed, so I get the social security. So basically, it's paid by WHO for me, yeah. So that's the technical part. So if people want to go and look into the data bank of WHO, you have to look at contract with the University of Geneva, Astrid Stuckelberger.
So you have likely visited the WHO headquarters a couple of times.
Oh, I had offices. I had an office there when I was 28. Wow. And I was also many times there for meetings because I lived just nearby. So, and I also had an office in the UN to organize UN meetings, UN Open Day twice. And I had offices there. So that was paid by the government to WHO, to the UN or WHO. And they were hiring. It's a kind of a system for the United Nations and WHO, any agency, is that they have a GPO, a junior program officer, and then the country, the government pays WHO for a position in WHO, for example. So that's what happened to me later, like with the IHR. But before it was consultant directly to me, for example. Yeah.
And with United Nations, you have been working as a consultant as well.
Yes. Yes, and different agencies. And I got contracts that were very interesting. For example, ILO, International Labour Office, on minimizing stress, participating to a booklet, and it's tripartite. So it's minimizing stress of the employer and the employee and the government policies to do that. Another one that was fascinating, and they couldn't find anybody, and they found me. So I got the mandate, and it was pretty tough. It was UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program, who had to evaluate in the Iraq war all the oil spill effect on nature and on human beings, and the health impact and how much it would cost. It's the Compensation Commission. It's a CCC for after war. And I had to read a lot. I was an expert of the expertise from 3 universities in the US. So I had to read a lot, but it was fascinating because I could see where, people were diminishing the effects and trying to say, no, it is not. But it was on soil, animal life, fish, birds. So that's part of what we should be talking about in everything happening, not just, you know, a virus, because there is a lot of public health measures. So that was another one. And then, yeah, there was one, a lot with the United Nations Commission of Human Rights. Also, when had the International Year, I made a booklet that I still have on human rights and older persons. And I think I know about almost all the agencies here. Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot of mandates. I also had a lot of mandates for research expertise with the European Union. And that has been starting in 2000. After I got the prize from Kofi Annan and this UN focus, then many people approached me to have me on their team, whether on aging or on women or on innovation. And so for the EU, I've been on the Horizon, 2020, 2030, 2020, and I was before on FP7. I even had a huge research on the social determinants of health. That was one of my last big research. And then there was another one on aging in the ski resorts in the mountains. So it's a very variety, but what is interesting in what the expertise I have for you and governments is that I have a point of view from the human side and not the robot side or the engineering side. So if there is innovation, we sit down with the engineer, a business person, and me, and we look if it's human-centered. So, for example, many people wanted to, and that was the trend, is that for aging, technology is the solution. And so many things were very good, but it started to get very weird from 2014 on, because I was also for the Austrian government. You know, they have a Forschung program, and so I went regularly to assess their research, and they were very happy with me. And it's because I took the human side. So I would say, yeah, but you have to keep human-centered. Your technology has to always be able not to be used, or that the person says no. Or for example, there was toothbrush that were with artificial intelligence, toothbrushes that give the data of the saliva to a company that gives it to the dentist. And that I was opposing that, because I said that's not possible, because privacy, data privacy, protection of data consent is not given. So I blocked that, and they could reassess that and make it better, so it would correspond to the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation of the EU. And maybe another one that's incredible is mirrors, the e-mirrors for Alzheimer people. So the mirror would analyze old person who would have moves that are not good. If they fall, there would be an alarm. Same with the toilets. So it's smart home. And the breach could go very far, because, for example, Alexa, some of the researchers were using Alexa, and we were to oppose systematically Alexa, because the data protection is not guaranteed with US. So you see, we were very close to what's happening now with the data breach. I'll put a bit of light. With the data breach on our identity, the genome, the PCR, every data they're collecting from what happened from the vaccine and before, it was very suspicious to me that the restaurant knew if you had been vaccinated or not. This is a breach on medical secrecy. And nobody...
It's like, they were asking the Covidpass, so in a way they were not asking, do I have exactly the vaccines, but it could be the PCR test, whatever. But in any case, they were asking for certain kind of data and so on. And in Finland, we have shown already to the court that Fazer was breaking even some of the key laws of the pandemic law in Finland when they were asking for the Covidpass. So there should have been a government official according to that law, which was unlawful itself, the law, but so there wasn't, it was just a normal employee asking them and so on. Hey, you were talking a little bit.
I just want to say something very shocking, is that, I went to a restaurant to ask, can you get to the server, can you know if this person, your customer, is vaccinated or not? Yes, we can know. Do you know what is the name of his doctor? Yes, we can know. You know the dates when he was vaccinated? Yes. So there is a problem in the breach in all the businesses. And that shows how much something strange has been deployed early on.
Going forward with this COVID passport stuff, which is what is going on at the court with me against the government, and so when Donald Trump was saying 2021 in the summertime that he is about to launch this Operation Warp Speed, I remember his speech, and I was like feeling like this is gonna get into big trouble. Like right away when I was seeing him speaking, I was like, wow, this is a big mistake. And I just started to calculate like 1 + 1, that okay, those who don't take the vaccine, there is a very big risk they will be discriminated or isolated or whatever, you know, fired from the work, or if you take it, you will be treated better in the life, normal life. And it happened exactly. The COVID passport came and was used around the world. And so for me, this case Covidpass is the battle for the basic human rights, and this is to make like a precedent for the future, that it doesn't happen again in Finland or Europe. Otherwise, we will become slaves to the medicine again, and this discrimination will happen again. They will repeat it. I mean, EU, our governments, WHO, and so on. And part of this court case is the statement you gave to the court about PCR test and testing, and you know some history about this Kari Mullis, who is an American man who died just prior to COVID started. Tell a little bit more about him and what he was thinking about his test itself.
Yeah, well, yeah, I always have 3 sources, but he is the best because he invented, Kari Mullis is Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1993, and he has worked always with the PCR from then on in labs, and he is an incredible person because we saw many videos. I don't have any papers from him, but many videos where he criticizes that he has been already against Fauci for AIDS, for H1N1, saying, where is the virus? I would like a picture of the virus, you know, even Montagnier. But this, we can come back to that. But he said very clearly in the videos that you cannot use a PCR outside a lab. So that's the first thing. It is a tool, a technical tool for a laboratory, but not for public health. Because when you're in a lab, you are in a confined space, you know what you're studying, you control all the factors and the parameters, and you know what you're looking for. And you're just testing a few things for bacteria, for this, for that, but you cannot take it out of the lab. So he was very clear that this is for lab research and cannot be used outside a lab to diagnose anything. He said it very clearly that this is impossible to use this PCR to diagnose a pandemic or anything. And he even he went to Montagnier to ask him for the picture of HIV/AIDS virus, because if you study in the lab, then you should have a picture. And Professor Montagnier told him, yeah, I think you should go and look in the area where we publish on monkeys, because he didn't know what to answer. So he was testing the ground for truth, and he really made it clear that it is not possible and the PCR cannot test anything. I think I can even quote something he said. He said, even in 2019, before he died, actually, the PCR technique is an invention for in vitro research, not in vitro, in the laboratory. He emphasized it is not intended nor reliable as a test for the public or as a medical diagnostic, even in the clinic, tool for physician, because it is inaccurate to detect any virus. So, I mean, you cannot get it stronger than that from the world expert. And he was speaking the truth. So he was censored and very honest. So, oh yeah, that's a very good also aspect to say that when you work in vitro, you cannot accuse the in vivo to translate a research on a mice in a lab to a person and the whole population in the world. Normally, it goes from mice to lab, outside to samples of human, then on 1 or 2 human, and then more and more. And I always try to tell people some imagery so they understand. It's like if you accuse the car of your car, you know, is not working anymore. And the guy takes a sample on the top of the car or in the engine, goes in the lab to test it with a device that he uses only in the lab, and tells you, yeah, it's this dust that made it. That's why you're sick. So now we're going to use my lab to say why and if your car can circulate or not. So they have transferred the lab as the most important tool to confuse everybody. And that's why I understand today they did that with the virus, with everything. They only talk of microbiology or genetics that not even they understand. And the PCR is the same. They're just translating something that only those in the lab understand, or the technician of the device, not even. And then they put it in the public health domain. And it's impossible. That the correlation is so crazy that it's so huge that it's hard to believe. You see, they do that. The deception is always the same algorithm. So that's Kari Mullis. But then there are others, you know, the CDC.
Did you ever meet him?
No, unfortunately. Only on video. I hope he's not dead.
He was 70 or something when he died.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah, I don't know. He was 57. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he was a surfer, sport person. That's what I know a bit about him. But yeah, he seemed to be a brilliant person, very close to people.
Yeah, and then somebody wanted, hey, let's do this PCR for the whole world. And I wonder, they have been making billions and billions of money with this PCR testing around the world.
Yeah, and that's the problem. If people see that, that's why it is such a scam on all sides. The deception and the abuse, it's abuse.
Yeah, this is a global abuse. Like, think about, you have to put the stick up in your nose to have your human rights working. Or a needle to the arms for your basic human rights to work out. This is like total
abuse. It's physical abuse because they almost hurt people in their brain. They could go to the blood-brain barrier with this in the nose. You never do that in medicine, and suddenly you do it to animals. So they were abusing animals before, and now we take us as animals. But it is financial, it's social, it's economic. It's at the global scale and at the individual scale. But it terrorized people. People were terrorized. They could not travel if they did not do the PCR. It's an obstruction. It was really the obstruction tool to put in place everything they did. The lockdown, the ID you have for Pfizer. How could it work, this ID, except, you know, that the PCR made the case that there was a virus, which is not true, and that it could make them roll out this injection. So it's all linked, the roll out of the plan.
And then what's wrong here also is like completely wrong on every front was that, okay, you can take the vaccines here, 2 doses, 3 doses, then you get your passport green, you get it for free. The government is paying for the vaccine. Okay, they were taking the money from the taxpayers' pocket without asking from us. That's the wrong number one. Then, if you don't want to have this free human rights working out with these jabs, then you can pay for yourself like 50 euro, 100 euro, whatever the price for the one test, and have your human rights work for 24 hour, 48 hours, 72 hour, whatever. Like total abuse and making mockery of the people's human rights on the constitutional rights, the fundamental rights, and the European human rights, which are right there.
And the informed consent, because
Informed consent,
we
yes.
were not informed, and not whether it's the vaccine or the PCR, we were not informed of what was in there and what they were doing. And with children, it is so horrible because they went behind the back of the parents. And in Canada, they were selling ice cream in front of the school against the vaccine. So without asking consent of parents. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if that is not a quadruple violation of the rights of the child, the rights of informed consent, the rights of abuse of deception and lie, and it's a crime because then the child can die, and then they say, oh, no, it's not that. And there are so many. That's what I don't understand. How did they get so many people to be on the evil side?
Yeah, and when you were in Geneva, Switzerland, maybe for the most of the time during COVID, was there a vaccine passport or this COVID passport type thing at use in Geneva?
Well, to go to the restaurant, most of them were asking for it, but there were restaurants who, in the back door, you could go and have, a restaurant meal. But the frustration of not going to the restaurant was nothing for me. And some people I mean, I even have a cousin, and now he died, a few months ago because of that. Probably he was frustrated not to go to the coffee bar for a coffee, so he got the vaccine, and he's a doctor. He's a dentist. So I was like, whoa, they have used the psyop of pleasure. We will forbid you your daily pleasure. If you do it, you can go, no problem. And they did not even question, why is anybody forcing me? This is the freedom, the biggest freedom I have is to say no. And this is where you could see that there is a pre-programmation probably in society, a society of pleasure, no frustration. The values have changed through the TV, through the media. And there are a lot of specialists are talking about the subliminal program, so that people would accept anything just to keep on the pleasure of doing what I want in this society. But the worst was the work that they started to cut contracts for nurses, doctors who would not do it. That's terrible. Every sector in Switzerland was preserved a little bit because you could live. We didn't have lockdown where you could not even go out to, walk your dog, or only walk. We didn't feel that, but we could feel the police was like Rottweilers, they had orders, and you could not mess up with them. It's like you felt that there was a feeling of war. You can feel a bit what could be the Gestapo in the Second World War. They were back. They are back. I think it's the same one. The Second World War was never finished. It just continues. Or it's the Third World War, but it's a bit the same techniques, propaganda and of censorship and of forcing people with fear. And I'm really sorry that people have so much fear. I mean, even we had kind of emergency situation where I never made so many reserves in case everything would go bad, and that would take off my fear, or any fear. I don't really have much fear, but I could sense that this could turn very evil. But finally, you don't need much to live. You see, it's also a spiritual journey. It's that you're good with yourself. If you don't have a coffee because you can't go, it's okay. You don't need to travel. You travel in your inner world, and I think that is important today. It is to come and enrich your inner world, because that's the best basis and cursor you have when everything is moving with lies, like it is happening now, still differently.
So,
and you have that because you said no.
yeah. No is no. No is no. Now, when you wrote this very excellent 10-page statement to the Finnish court, which we will publish after the court dates in April this year, so quite soon. We have it in English and also in Finnish, and everybody can then study. And I would say it's maybe one of the most comprehensive statements on PCR for anyone in the world, what we have provided to the court. And it
Yeah, I
is
think it's good because it's simple and it has key documents that you cannot attack. And I have used that on the grand jury of Reiner Filmisch. I was asked to witness as for WHO, but also PCR. So I was trained, to say the least.
And in my case, I didn't have any kind of infection or disease or sickness, or I was 100% healthy and just going to have a breakfast. It sounds very little, but the thing is that they violated very many fundamental rights.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to abuse, as he was saying before, on many levels on us. And that's the reason I'm standing up here and for the freedom of not only Finland, but Europe and Switzerland and the world.
Yeah.
And what's good in USA and Australia, New Zealand, they have been winning now these COVID vaccine mandate cases in the courts.
Mm-hmm.
But this case is against the highest government here in Finland. And I'm 100% sure I will win this case, but it may take time. But I will win this case, and it will be a big win for all of us, and and so on. And I have two last questions to you.
Sure.
One is that, are we going to see Astrid Stuckelberger in Strasbourg helping my case to win the freedom for Europe?
Of course. Of course. Yes. Yes, I will be there.
It's not a long way from Switzerland, so it's
no, and I'm going to Brussels. You know, I go and talk when I feel safe, and I feel safe with your case. And yes, of course, I was in Strasbourg not long ago to do a film for the Spanish The Blue Dot, and it's a very nice place, Strasbourg. It's you eat very well, and yeah, there is hope they haven't changed the judges, and that it will be considered, it will be fair. The judgment will be fair.
And then last question, what is your message to the people in Finland regarding this case Covidpass? What do you want to say? Here we say moi moi. It means like hey hey, or either way you can say. But
the last way, what about the case you want me to talk about?
About the case Covidpass and Finland. Like, what is your message to the people in Finland who are following the case?
Well, moi moi. Please support Mika and his case, absolutely, because he is helping you, and that when he wins this case, and even you just joining, you can help many others to understand that you have to say no, and that you have to understand why you say no, and you have to argue. And this is why you can read these papers. They will be translated in Finnish. They're very easy to understand. And please help Mika in all your way you can. Even a little funding, even just joining him in spirit and supporting, and talk to Mika and his case everywhere. You should talk to your family, because speaking the truth is the way we will win, is taking off the veil, apocalypse, it means that, taking off the veil of ignorance from people. That's the only way. So if Finland can win just already by knowing this case and just talking about the truth, that would be fantastic. Then Mika, you won at many levels. Yeah, I believe that it can really happen with a high spirit, and it will happen. Yeah,
we are in this to win.
Case. It's really a great case with very little funds, and congratulations, really, Mika. That's why I'm involved and I support this case. Otherwise, I wouldn't. And Mika is a very honest and great person, like his team. So it's really a good case. I don't mess up with controlled opposition, as you saw in Stockholm. This is a real case. It is not just for fun. It is for your future and the future of your children, like you said, and your grandparents.
Yes.
They're important.
Hey, thank you, Astrid, for this. And for the people following, you can follow Astrid. I think you have Telegram.
Yeah, I have Telegram, but it's a DR Astrid Stuckelberger, and I'm on X, Stuckelberger. You can see my picture in general, and what I post, you can see what I post. But I can give you all the social media where I am on Facebook, on LinkedIn, but I don't post much on LinkedIn. It's too professional and it's explosive when you post there. So I'm diplomatic.
Your website is
TikTok.
astridstuckelberger.com.
Stuckelbergeri.
Stuckelbergeri.com.
No, yeah. No, but we can put that on your website, and I will this year I promised to the victims of acts to publish a small booklet on treatments and health, because that's my specialty. So,
and yeah, if you want to, somebody wants to support my coming Case Covidpass documentary film, so you can do it at casecovidpass.com, and there is a support button, and you can donate from anywhere in the world for the production of the film, and we will publish it this year.
Yeah, that's a great idea. This has a lot of impact, those films.
Yes, and
many, yeah.
We've been already filming it. We'll be doing it more, and then if this case goes further up in the legal system, so there will be more series coming. And so, hey, thank you, Astrid, a lot for fun talk, and looking forward to speak to you again. And we will be following what you do in Switzerland and otherwise. And
yeah, I'm a bit everywhere, I must say.
we believe we will have the victory for basic human rights and never surrender.
Yeah, no, never consent things that don't belong to you and your soul. Yeah. That's the number one rule. And be happy.
Yeah.
When you put your feet down in the morning, decide to be happy.
No is a powerful word, which is say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, and everybody have a good afternoon, morning, or day whenever you were watching this. Keep in touch. Bye.
Bye. Ha det.